Hello, I'm Murray Newlands with Search Engine Journal. I'm here at the Search Metrics Conference in San Francisco with Jordan from eBay. What do you do at eBay?
I am one of our leads in the SEO team, and I manage our content development and SEO track.
Now, you were saying you have a huge amount of internal data. You've got a lot of 40 people on the team. You've got a lot of business units who also want information. How are you working with such a large team? How do you develop it? And why do you have both internal data as well as using external tools?
Yeah, that's a great question. Working with a big team is always challenging, especially in a big company. It's like a matrix organization. So you're always jockeying to get different data, get different information, and you're ultimately trying to find some balance of truth, something that everyone can agree on.
Right.
So whether it's using your internal data or using external data, what we ultimately try to find is something that we can have that will cover all of our business cases.
Yep.
So something that can help us manage on a global scale, but then also reach some sort of scale, right? Because eBay is a very big site. Yeah, so absolutely. Those are the two very big prerequisites when we're looking at external data to help us validate what we're seeing internally.
And what kind of differences do you see?
Well, that's a very good question. Sometimes we see some very big differences, and the differences are typically when we're looking at how we benchmark ourselves to competitors. And so external tools will sometimes sway one way or another for eBay, against eBay or for eBay.
Yep.
And we'll notice that our internal data is telling us the contrary. So it's kind of a funny thing, right? Because it's a self-positive, when your internal data is saying, oh, you're doing great, but the external data is telling you something different. So that's when we start to kind of get the thinking caps on and kind of deep dive into what does that mean, which is why we use third-party data, right? Because that's the only way you're going to get that insight. Oftentimes your internal data is giving you a positive answer that isn't necessarily true.
Can you give a specific example, for example, where you've used such metrics in your own data and said, okay, here's a difference, and why has that difference occurred, and what have you done about it? And
yeah, because the site is so large, and we get a lot of direct traffic, oftentimes we have situations where we're working with a particular vertical, right? Say, take example, fashion or electronics.
Yeah.
And they get their data can be very hard to parse. It can be very hard to divide what is electronics actually getting in the ecosystem of eBay versus all the other verticals, or just what's happening naturally on the site. So when you're looking at internal data, sometimes you can see that a particular vertical is performing in a very strong way, but from an SEO perspective, they may be very weak. And that could be from product changes, that could be from Google changes. Historically, we've had some very interesting ones around fashion. Fashion is a very graphic heavy, they're trying to build a very unique experience, and that can sometimes create challenges for a search engine. And when product teams make big changes in verticals such as fashion, we can see major drops that they're not seeing internally, just because organically they're doing very well and sales are still good, people are still visiting it because the ecosystem of eBay is so large.
Yeah.
But externally, from an SEO perspective, they're really suffering.
Very interesting. If people want to find out more and connect with you, how do they do that?
Sure. They can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is JT Koene, and that's my name, Jordan Thomas, and then Koene last name, Koene.
Jordan, thank you very much. Have a great show. I'm Murray Newlands with Search Engine Journal. I'll see you next time.